Good morning to everybody. I welcome all of you for this session. Myself, Professor Neerja Sharma from Barkatullah University, Bhopal. My right side is Dr. Anita Dighe. She is ex-director of Campus Open Learning in the University of Delhi. She worked lots of work in the lifelong learning and adult education programs. We all welcome her for her presentation on adult learning and information communication technology.
Well, those of us and all of us here, we know that the national governments of a majority of developing countries have tended to marginalize adult education policies and programs as well as training of adult education functionaries. Now a study was undertaken in the year 2002 by the then UNESCO Institute of Education, now known as the UNESCO Institute of Lifelong Learning, which showed that in most countries, despite the fact that there were a large number of adult education functionaries who needed to be trained, only a small percentage got trained. And this was because because of lack of resources, human as well as financial. The training methodology was top-down, was reduced to knowledge transmission, and it did not consider or look at, perceive literacy as multidimensional, or the approaches were not learner-centered and participatory. Also that the training programs were ad hoc and perfunctory. And as a result of this, there was a tremendous amount of transmission loss. And so it was realized that the adult education functionaries are actually quite ill-equipped to meet the challenges posed by their work. So therefore, it was recommended that there is a need to improve the quality of training that the adult educators receive. And also it was felt that there was need to think of new approaches to training adult education functionaries. Now, I think it's also important for us to look at some of the international initiatives that have influenced the content of adult education training. About 10 years ago, there was the 5th International Conference on Adult Education, Confantia. And Confantia 5 proposed a vision of adult learning, which was an enlarged vision of adult learning, which cut across a variety of sectors and was firmly rooted in a framework of human development and social justice, comprising elements such as democracy, critical citizenship, cultural diversity, social inclusion, human rights, peace, and gender equality. The Hamburg Declaration, which came out of the Confantia 5, reflected a strong commitment to promoting the right to education and learning, and to the creation of a learning society. And then thereafter you had the Dakar conference, which again talked about investing in quality education of children as well as of adults. And then last year, the UNESCO, of course, has played a pivotal role. UNESCO brought out the Global Monitoring Report in 2006, and the report also talks about the creation of a rich and dynamic literate environment. So the international policy discourse, I think it's important for us to take note of these developments, because the international policy discourse does have an impact on the training of adult education functionaries. Now, another development, of course, has been that the conventional mode of training adult education functionaries, as we all know, is inadequate. And now with the rapid development of information and communication technologies, and we have access to the internet and e-learning and virtual classrooms, now there are new opportunities have opened up for training adult education functionaries. It was also felt that we should keep the ODL format, the open and distance learning format, in mind. Unusual approach was that we felt that we should focus, that we should have a participatory approach in the development of this course. Now, keeping the learner center stage, now that is something that is slightly unusual for an ODL program. And to that extent, this is a little different, because it is emphasizing the participatory approach. Our focus is on participatory processes, in a sense is making a statement that we do have an ideological bias. It's a very contextual approach because we do feel that contexts are different, contexts vary, and contexts do matter. The role of ICTs in education and development, pitfalls, potential pitfalls and challenges, provides an overview that examines the meaning of ICTs, weighs the strengths and weaknesses of ICTs, examines some of the myths that surround ICTs, and then highlights the lessons that are learned on the use of ICTs to enhance learning. Some work had been done by UNESCO where they had tried to look at the current use of ICTs and literacy programs in E9 countries, and the study showed that that there were problems, that not many countries were really using ICTs for literacy. Now, what are the learning objectives? Basically, to enable the learner to understand the potential and role of ICTs in literacy programs, to highlight the strengths and weaknesses of literacy programs that use ICTs, and to apply the understanding and analysis in selecting and using relevant ICTs in their work as adult educators. One is looking at the context. I mean, it's a rapidly changing world. We are living in a globalized world. The ICTs are bringing about enormous changes. There is certainly much better access to information than ever before. ICTs are making that possible. But the access to technology is uneven, and there was some discussion on this yesterday. And then when you look at the urban and the rural areas, you find that there are certain parts of rural areas that have hardly any access to technology even now. So therefore, we do have a problem of digital divide. And it is women who are affected the most because of this problem, and particularly women in rural areas who are affected most because of the problem of rural divide. Now, why do we want to use ICTs for literacy programs? Well, one is, of course, the sheer numbers, the vast number of people who are illiterate. We also have a mandate. We have made a commitment. India has been a signatory that the UN Literacy Decade envisages that the literacy rate would be increased by 50% by the year 2015, and this is a commitment that Government of India has made. Now, with the rapid expansion of ICTs, we need to pay attention to how ICTs can improve the quality of literacy education, and that is why we need to pay some attention to ICTs. Now, what is meant by ICTs? Well, normally we associate ICTs with high-tech devices.